Good morning, everyone. Good to see a lot of people here. Great weather. Sue Martucci is sailing the west coast of Mexico, soon to be crossing the Panama Canal. So she is not here, and in her absence, Shirley, will you do roll call?
President Davidson.
Present.
Vice President Ricketts.
Present.
Secretary Martucci is absent. Treasurer Gundry.
Present.
Director Bardell is here. Director Martin, not here. Director Hector, absent. Director Ryan, here. Director Shaw.
Here.
Have a quorum.
Thank you. With that, I will call the meeting to order. It's 9:32, and you please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to embarrass one of the board members, and it's only for informational purposes. If you see Ray Shaw stand and lean against the wall, it's not that he isn't interested. Ray has been bothered by a kidney stone for probably the last month. And if anybody's had one, they say they are more painful than childbirth on a pain scale. So Ray, feel free if you need to, get up and stand against the wall. Put your feet up on the chair. It's fully acceptable because I know you needed to be here for the insurance presentation, so I appreciate the effort in you making the meeting today. And just to let you know, Ray gave up an appointment to have the stone blasted so he could attend this meeting. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it, Ray. With that, I will entertain a motion to approve the October 7th Federation Board of Directors meeting. Thank you, Jim. A second. Thank you, Shirley. I'll slow down a little so our recording secretary, Mr. Knott, can get these in there. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are passed. Second one is the approval of the October 24th Special Board of Directors meeting. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Thank you, Jim. Second. Thank you, Shirley. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then those passed unanimously. We'll go into the management reports, and I will call upon Steve to provide us with First Services Management report.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This will be a relatively brief report. We'll start with landscaping. The landscape monthly review meetings were held Wednesday, October 26th, where we reviewed the 4 landscapers. The results of that can be found on the kpscc.com landscape tab. Bulk mulch deliveries are complete. The installation is progressing. Work orders, we'll do a work order report this time around. For October, because it was a hurricane cleanup, there really was not a lot of work orders submitted in the first week, so there's no surprise that there were 24 regular service work orders put in for the month of October. However, it is noted that there were 42 work orders put in for special requests and 43 specific work orders for Brown's Tree, so those do reflect a lot of post-hurricane cleanup requests for landscaping. Administratively, the association annual meeting, your association's annual meeting first notices are in the process of being mailed out. Some of you may have them already. Your budget drafts, they should be available to pick up Tuesday, November 15th in the afternoon. Just as a reminder, the 18th of November is the budget meeting, which will follow the membership meeting in the Veterans Theater. Next Wednesday is the special membership meeting to approve the Federation budget. So we encourage your association, if you haven't already, to return a proxy, or please plan on attending that meeting. It is going to be important so that the Federation can have a budget going forward. We will be sending a letter requesting donations to benefit the Martha and Mary House to our vendors from First Service for the celebration of holidays, which will take place on December 12th. And that is my report.
One question. Do you have a candidate for the second landscape specialist?
Yes, we do.
And when would you expect that person to be hired or start with?
We're shooting for early next week. So
Okay, and the $6,000 which the Federation is providing to you for that will be adjusted accordingly for the month of November, depending on his actual start date, correct?
Correct. We'll allocate that by day.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ginger, I'll have you give the
Good morning,
report.
everybody. The board just got their reports coming in hot here. A busy time for us. I won't read all the numbers because I know that's a little overwhelming, especially if you can't
God
see
bless
them.
you.
Yeah. The story is it's November and the numbers are going up. So we've got a 23% increase over the prior month in fitness. We've got overall in the spa, 57% increase in clients served there, 26% increase in merchandise and service sales. So, you know, you can, I always say, set your watch by season here and we'll start seeing those numbers inch up. Most notable is the South Club patrons served, 47% increase over the prior month, with a 51% increase in sales over the prior month. Portico still stays strong as 11% of all that traffic there. On the projects, we still have that dangling participle of the 21-22 project of the HVAC at the South Club. We have that 25-ton unit on reserve with the manufacturer. It is estimated to be completed by January 2023. I think they built the ARC faster than they are getting this HVAC unit to us.
I would suggest you take off the year and say it just to be completed by January.
We're gonna get these HVAC sometime. South Club Pool Deck Expansion Project, Phase 1, all revised building plans are currently under final review and at the county, and we are just holding our breath and waiting. Just to remind everybody, last November we applied for this permit. Never seen anything like it. We also had a former RFDC member who was working with the county, and she got us right to the top. The guy was appalled at the length of time it was taking, and apparently the biggest concern was we're changing the usage from a small cabana and a laundry room into a tiki bar type of operation that has the opportunity to sell alcohol. So we're in a holding pattern, but they tell us that any time now we should be getting our walking papers, so to speak. Phase 1.5, the ground preparation, in the meantime, while we're waiting for that permit, has been ongoing. The installation of the new concrete continues, is nearing completion, and we've completed all the install for the conduits for the future sound system, accent lighting, and RFID gates. We plan the installation of the concrete in the area in front of where the new bar will be and surrounding areas in the coming weeks. On Phase 2, we have obtained the bids for the other components of this project for the shade structures, the appliances for the food and beverage area, the pool furniture replacements and landscaping. It's quite a Rubik's Cube, and I have to give credit to Victoria. She's done a great job in planning this. We're going to take all that current furniture and get that all refurbed and restrapped, but we can't just take all your furniture off the pool deck. So we're getting the new furniture in, so you all have places to sit while that's restrapped, and then we'll fill it out with the refurb stuff when it comes in. So it is quite some logistics going on. And finally, in phase 3, the future sound system bid that was approved by the board, the deposit has been paid and the equipment has been ordered. This main clubhouse, the roof coating project continues. Most residents aren't aware of it, save seeing some lifts out there from time to time, but that has had no impact on resident usage. And we are finishing up the east wing has been completed. The west wing is almost done. We plan to transition to the indoor pool roof in the coming weeks. On the main clubhouse renovation, a large portion of the lobby has been completed thus far, and work in front of the box office and southwest doors leading out to the theater is nearing completion. The section directly in front of the cafe is ongoing and estimated to be completed in the coming weeks. Le Perc will reopen, and with that will be a new menu and dining concept. We hope you'll come and try that out. The lobby and hallway furniture is estimated to be delivered in mid-November. And then I'll go ahead and turn it over to Matt for some special event and program and services.
Thank you, Ginger. And I can also try to do this quickly here. For those of you that are unaware, we currently have 13 of the 14 series shows sold out, which is a phenomenal, I say, problem to have, because we have a lot of folks that would have liked to have attended the other 13 that are sold out. The Hall & Oates show has around 60 to 70 tickets remaining, so if you'd like to see that, the time is now. Scott Burgach has actually announced 3 pop-up shows, backed by popular demand. Teresa, who is a talented woman who was with Motown Magic, will be coming back. Southern Cross, a tribute to Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Neil Diamond's story, The Early Acoustic Years, have been added. A friendly reminder, and for those of you that may not know, folks that enjoy getting breakfast, it's actually served at the South Club from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thursday through Sunday. We get a lot of great feedback on the team down there. If you'd like to stay inside the gates and enjoy that, please do. Today, we get to go from the board meeting to garage sale. So for those of you Kings Point residents that would like to search for treasures or somebody else's trash, 4 o'clock today, the gates open for you, and feel free to kind of come in there and take a first look before the doors open tomorrow for neighbors. So after that, we've got the Bon Jovi live stream concert 2009 live in New York. That's actually our first time doing this over at the South Club. The show will start at 6:30. We are aware it's going to be a little light outside, but the goal of starting at 6:30 will also be to not pound the neighbors with noise up until after 8:30. So we're modifying the event. We're going to continue to look at different ways to bring activities and events to the community, so we're excited about that. Upcoming events, keep your eyes out for some Woodstock tribute out in the field. We're going to be doing a casino night. We've got more themed dances, music bingo. There's a lot going on. For those of you that would like to get your variant booster or flu shots, November 14th, the pharmacy will be back, and they will be back throughout season. That leads us into ongoing programs and services. The market is here. Physician Stat Labs doing the blood draws, podiatry services, on-spot dermatology. All of these programming functions have been extremely popular, and we anticipate that going on throughout season. My final point of note is that we are doing some internal shuffling, and there's going to be a new hire that's starting for us Monday, and some of you may know her. For those of you that do or do not know, Ma Bell will be returning to us at Vesta in the administrative office component, and I'm really excited to have her as part of our team. She loves the community, had wonderful things to say about First Services, Steve, the entire group over there, but we're excited to kind of use her in a different capacity, and I'll be working very closely with her. My skill set isn't exactly the most organized person in the world, so she's going to help me with a number of things, so I'm really excited to have her on board with the team, and again, more importantly, back with the community where I think she belongs.
Anything else?
Yes, we're not quite done yet. Here we're tag teaming it. Back to data. On security, you also see these numbers crawling up here. We've issued over 13 passes at the gate, in the month of October. It's hard to believe how many calls and passes and business they actually do out there. Fielded just shy of 9,000 calls in the month. On their notables, we did have a business-related visitor arrive to the front gate providing an address and requested entry into the community. No authorization was given, however, by the resident, and they didn't answer the phone, so instead of, letting them through, we said, we're sorry, we can't let you through the gate. Instead of leaving, he ran the gate. Security easily located him because they knew where he was going. And the visitor immediately turned around and skedaddled out of the community as soon as he noticed it. But it's real important you call those folks in. I don't know what this dude's idea was, but he didn't belong and he had to get out. So finally, we would just really like to remind people not to piggyback their golf cart entry into the community. The golf cart gate has been knocked off. Anybody want to guess in the last 3 weeks?
100 times.
One time? No. 2? 4 times in 3 weeks. I wish we had started counting from day one because it's been hundreds over the years, right? I mean, it's just extraordinary. So just take a minute, wait till it goes down, swipe your badge, and then it'll go up again. So that's my report.
Jack, I'm sorry. There's one other bit of breaking news, and I get to embarrass my boss because she tends to do that to me all the time. So I received an email the other day from the CEO of the International Council on Active Aging. She knows where I'm going with this. So the woman to my left was actually nominated and has actually won. She has been a selected winner of the prestigious Pinnacle Award for the top 5 wellness CEOs or presidents in North America. So the email continues, we are thrilled to recognize your outstanding achievement to enhancing the lives of older adults through a thriving wellness culture. It's basically an enhancement of residents, members, clients, and staff to create relevant, meaningful opportunities that empower to live a better and longer life. And it's my pleasure to embarrass you, and your face is really red right now. So she receives the award next week, and for someone that's worked next to her on and off for, I think, 10 to 12 years, I get to see a lot of the behind the scenes. So very thrilled for you, and congratulations, and you deserve it.
It's about time he got even with you. And yes, I knew that was coming. Matt, there is one thing you left off, which I think is very important to the community. For the last couple of years, I have been pushing Vesta to open on a holiday, to provide dinners. You should have seen the notice by now, but the South Club will be open for Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving. If you don't want to go to the South Club, you'll be able to pick your meal up that day. I felt that this community has many residents that really have no place to go on Thanksgiving, and they really don't want to cook a Thanksgiving dinner. It was an effort by Matt and Andrew at the South Club to get the necessary employees willing and volunteering to work that day. I can tell you that if it goes very well, which I think it will, it won't be the last holiday that we will have dinners at the South Club for the residents within Kings Point. So, Matt, I want to thank you. I want to thank Andrew and the entire Vesta staff for stepping up to the plate and opening up on Thanksgiving for a good Thanksgiving meal for the residents of Kings Point.
Well, thank you. I'll give an update on that. I'd love to be able to take the credit, but the food and beverage team and the chefs and the cooks and Andrew and them are the ones making it happen. So thank you. We do have, I checked late yesterday, there are about 26 spots left. So if anybody's interested in...
So it's been successful, I can take it.
It normally is successful even prior, but the Thanksgiving, we continue to get the great feedback that it's nice to have it on that day. It's more meaningful, to your point, and we're excited that the residents will have that opportunity this year. So
I can tell you, I was speaking to one resident whose anniversary it is around that time, and he's having his family in town. And they had originally rented a room in St. Petersburg for Thanksgiving dinner to celebrate. He canceled that room and ordered, and I think he shocked your phone person, he ordered 10 Thanksgiving dinners to go, and he has moved the anniversary party to his home. So it's going to be rather funny to have him pick up 10 meals, because I just don't think it's a normal pickup at the Portico pickup. So, but I do want to thank your staff for doing that, and I'm glad to see it successful. It shows there is a demand here for it. So, thank you very much on that particular aspect of it. With that, we will go to committee reports. Vicki, do you have anything? Ray, I will leave yours off because it will be at the end of the meeting. Shirley, do you have anything?
We had the debrief. Just to let you know, we had the we had the debriefing meeting about the disaster, and we are still going through information to see what we can do better next time. But we are on it as a committee, yes.
Jim, do you have anything? Tom, do you have anything? I will speak for Dan Hector. I know that the RFP was released to the contract committee for property management, as the first service contract is expiring March 31st. The board will review it, and we expect it to go out sometime within the week. And I would just to let, in case anybody has any concern or questions, First Service has totally not been involved in any way, shape, or form in the preparation of the RFP, any information on the RFP. It was done by the contract committee and legal counsel and reviewed by the board, and First Service will see it the same as everybody else sees the package when it goes out. In regard to the Spectrum contract, we have some issues with the Spectrum contract Federation Board does. It has been in council's hands for a while. It was sent back. We have not heard back from Spectrum or Charter, who are doing the contract. And I do know that Webb Mountain is trying to set up a meeting with First Service, who oversees the contract, members of the contract committee, and Spectrum to get the issues resolved. They are totally a fiduciary responsibility that they have in that contract that makes the Federation very uneasy with what some of their demands are. I will tell you one thing, just to give you an example. In that contract, it says if we miss one payment to them, they have the right to ask for the entire payment for the entire term of the contract. That is something which we are not going to accept. It would place a great fiduciary liability on this community. Mistakes do happen, and all they say, well, we would never do it. Well, if you never do it, you take it out. So these are some of the things that we have a problem with, that we're working out and looking out for the best interest of the community. With that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our distinguished guest, Mr. Armstrong. Thank you, Dan. To go over the financials as of September for the...
Yep, that's correct. And let me start by congratulating Ginger once again. I know that Bess is very proud of her and her many accomplishments, and just wanted to follow up, make sure that Matt's not feeling any pressure about filling her shoes or anything like that. So no worries, man. Reload. All right, today we're talking about the results ending September 30th, 2022. 6 months out of the fiscal year have been completed. The first page is your statement of financial position. Top section is cash. If you look at the subtotal and the right-hand column, again, your columns, the left-hand column is the current quarter end. And again, I'm talking about 9/30 ending as opposed to Ginger's reports, which were through October. And we're comparing them to the most recent fiscal year end 3/31. So the change column, that first section, deserves some note since it's a very large change quarter over that 6 months. We'll go through them individually. Operating cash, the swing of about $79,000 is actually in upward direction, so not much motion there, but surplus cash from prior years does deserve a comment. During the 6 months year to date, an awful lot of the tile project has been completed. The tram purchase and some fire safety equipment for about $11,000, so that makes up that $339,000 rounded that has been used year to date. Going on down, replacement reserves is down by $220,000. That is the budgeted reduction during the year, $110,000 per quarter for this year. That was a way of keeping the assessment lower since there were excess reserves in the cash account coming into this fiscal year. And then, of course, the last one, you don't normally see capital reserves go up or down because there's not many expenditures from there, but that difference is, the board probably wants to know, is just that utility card that was purchased in the first quarter. Going to the second section, and we'll pick it up a little bit. The last two items of the total other current assets section do have big variances. The prepaid line, next to last, of course, is insurance, as we talk about on a regular basis. We purchase in cash the year's insurance policies at about $390,000 now, I think it is. And at this point of the year, only 5 months of that have been amortized through expense. So the remainder sits on your balance sheet as a prepaid. Then the last item, construction work in process, is just recognition of all the items that I talked about above. All the refurbishments, the tile project, the progress in the tiki bar, etc., is sitting there in construction work in process until it's capitalized at the end of the year. Next section down, total property and equipment, no changes year to date. Remember, we only capitalize once a year, so you can see the actual budget on the following pages. Then going on down below the break for liabilities and net assets is a big change in unearned sales revenue, the second line in that section of $196,000 going up. That's because we're coming into season and a lot of tickets have been sold that have not been earned. So right now it's a liability on your balance sheet until that money has been earned. And then take a look at the last line in that section. I don't know how to point out that that's the current portion of long-term debt. It's a very small change between year in and now, but since I do talk more about the next section, if you go on down, long-term debt, the way to think about your total obligation is that very first line item. It's $51,832,000. You reduce the current portion and some other gap entries in those next two line items to get to the gap presentation that they required here. It's best not to think of what your total obligation is in terms of that subtotal. Instead, think of it as that first line item. Okay? So, and importantly, the note at the bottom, which is referencing an asterisk at the top in the cash section, has changed. It's been updated. It's just a note that explains what your surplus cash is at the end of the year. The $62,500, call it, includes a specific encumbrance for the $39,800 HVAC replacement that's been much talked about, and the remainder of it is unencumbered. But I do want to point out, as you can see in that last sentence, the difference between the original tram price minus the replacement tram and the fire safety system, $5,500 roughly, is in that account. Okay? Now I promise we'll pick up. Page 2 is the detailed version of page 1. It just shows the by department presentation with an elimination column. The right-hand column ties exactly to the first column, so I'm not going to spend any time there unless anybody has any questions. Page 3 is your statement of cash activities. This is the page that represents the sum of what has happened for this 6 months, as opposed to the front page, which is, hey, what do we look like today? So let's go straight to the bottom right-hand line. You guys are familiar with this report. The 3 columns are the actual 9 months, and this time the middle column is the budget, not the prior year. And there's a variance column. So looking at that bottom right-hand corner, where you can see we're about $87,000 favorable to budget. And going back up, you can see how that is built. Total revenues section, $306,000 favorable to budget. The operating costs, the expenses incurred to make that extra revenue, are over budget by $228. So it eats up some of that $306, but you can see on the subtotal income/loss from operations, it's $78,000 change favorable to budget. And then one little tidbit that I always like, and then next section down, other income and expenses section, there's one variance to budget in that right-hand column. You can see interest income is double the budget. Yay for a good CD here and there, finally. So let's go page 4. And only 5 seconds on this page. Again, this is the build-up page to the page we just closed on. It shows the departments, an elimination column for inter column or interdepartmental activity, and then the combined column agrees to the left-hand column of the prior page. Page 5 is your trust performance versus plan or budget. Now we're getting into the pages that have 2 sets of 3 columns. The left-hand set is the most recent fiscal year. The right-hand set is the year-to-date. This time it's 6 months. We'll focus on the right-hand side unless you stop me and ask a question about the most recent quarter. If you go to the bottom right-hand number, net cash flow, the variance to budget is $8,700 and change. We budgeted a $6,000 net cash flow, and it came out to $14,700 and change. All of that variance is the interest earnings on revenue. And go to page 6. Page 6 is the rec area. We apologize, we cut off the header accidentally in printing this, and we're out of time to reprint. So just write the words REC or something up there if you need to. The rec area, again, the same set of columns. If you go to the bottom right-hand corner, you can see it's $68,900 favorable to budget. The budget was flat, and so far there's about $68,000 of net change in assets. How did that come about? Substantially increase sales over budget. If you go to the top section, you'll see in the right-hand column, each of event revenue, food and beverage sales, and other clubhouse sales are all favorable to budget. And you can compare with your eyes these sections that kind of match them below, like event expenses matches event revenue, food and beverage expense matches. Those are going to be above budget, but not near as much as the revenue, which brings an additional money to the bottom line, of course. So that's substantially how that came about. Go to page 7. And 5 seconds each on these, bottom right-hand corner, it's a positive number, so it's favorable to budget. Budgeted 12,000 negative and was only 10,000 negative, so about $2,000 favorable. And page 8, transportation department, positive number on the bottom right-hand side, $7,500 favorable to budget. The bulk of that is in the top line in the expense section, employee wages and benefits savings. And most of that was achieved in the first quarter. As you can see, the second quarter is flat to budget. That's all I got to say, unless you have questions.
And I have a couple for you. It's my understanding that you have had conversations with Mr. Hector, who is the director that oversees the land trust financials, and that in speaking with Dan, that you are looking at reinvesting some of our CDs in higher interest rate CDs as interest rates have gone up. Nothing has been finalized, but you are looking at redepositing those in new CDs with much greater interest rate, from like less than 1% to possibly in the 3-4% rate.
Yeah, we actually had 3 CDs expiring a couple of days after we last talked, and the plan was to grab that 4.5% rate on about $1.3 million. So we went from those CDs, the three of them together probably were just a little under 1% to 4.5%. And of course, two of them are the restricted components of your reserves. The debt service reserve and the replacement reserve have a base amount that always has to be in the bank account for hurricanes, et cetera. And so we went ahead and locked those in for a year and got the best rate at Dan's request. I was pleased, very pleased to hear that he was enthusiastic about that. And we, together, I sent him probably about 10 banks, rate quotes, and we came to the conclusion that Bank of America actually had the best rates this year. They haven't always, so we'll together keep an eye on that in the future. But they were much better than all but one bank, and the other one would have required getting a broker account, getting it real complicated, at Edward Jones. So that they had the next best rates out there. But as I answer your question, there are a couple more CDs, probably $1 million, $1.75 million coming up in the next 30 days. So I'll be talking with him again to make sure that we put them in at the highest rate possible, even if that involves requiring
No,
a
but
bank.
the only reason I didn't want it not mentioned is it does bring in additional income
Yeah.
to the balance sheet when you go from a less than 1% to almost a 4.5% interest rate. So that will have and be noticed in the third quarter financial
Yeah,
report.
the annual budget is $12,000 this year, and we'll probably achieve 60. So that's great.
You said 6D, right?
I
So
hope so.
about a $48,000
55.
income.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that was mentioned because it is a good stewardship on your part and Dan's part in keeping an eye on those CDs and taking advantage of the interest rates as they go. Indeed. Any questions of the board on Dan's report? And with that, I know you all have been eagerly anticipating and waiting. I know that USI brought in some donuts this morning. Before you leave, there are still some over there, and you can take the Mad Rush. I think they were trying to sweeten us up for the news they're bringing. So I'm going to turn the meeting, and you guys need a mic, correct? I will turn the meeting over to USI to go through the estimated budget for insurance for the
You got it?
You got it in front of you. I know, but you have it in front of you. Yeah, you do.
Good morning, as we're getting this set up. For those that don't know me, my name is Adam Lopat and I run the condo division for USI Insurance. We are your insurance advocates for your insurance program. The majority of the insurance renews in April. So as we get this set up, this is the first time, for those that know me, I have had hearing problems for a long time due to my loud music when I was younger. So this is the first time doing a presentation with hearing aids in it. So hopefully my sound is okay, because I'm just getting adjusted to that.
So we can whisper now.
Just whisper, yes. I heard everything you said. These are Rolling Stone socks. I think someone had a comment on that, so I got them for Hanukkah last year. So. I want to wait till they showed up. Okay, here we go. Also, as we go through this, I want to thank Ray, head of the insurance committee, and his team. We've been working very, very hard on this to try to get the numbers as close to accurate as possible under these circumstances, and also the Federation board as well. We've gone back and forth on this presentation multiple times to try to get it as close as possible to accurate. First, the insurance marketplace in general. Prior to, as you all know, because you've been here before, prior to Hurricane Ian, the marketplace was an absolute mess. Rates were going up significantly. Carriers are pulling out of the state. Reinsurers were providing less in reinsurance. Post-Hurricane Ian, obviously a lot worse. Luckily for us, we did have some damage here at Kings Point. Nothing the size that we saw in both Grand, Sanibel, Fort Myers Beach, and Naples. I was down there yesterday. It is depressing. It is a tragedy. Replacement costs. By Florida Statute 718, we are required to have an appraisal every 36 months and update the replacement costs of the buildings to accurate numbers. We are due for that. We have a company hired. They will have those numbers to us in January. We are anticipating those values to go up roughly 20 to 30%. And the reasons why rates are going up, carriers are not making money. Carriers are in business to make money, and they're losing money. They're not going to continue to write in Florida. They've lost money the past 5 years in a row, even though we haven't had a hurricane since previous Ian, Hurricane Irma. Surfside strategy did not help either. And there's also, for those of you following, there was another building right down the street from them that was just evacuated as well. Social inflation. What I mean by that is the size of verdicts are getting larger. These verdicts are also piercing umbrella policies more frequently as well. So the bigger the claims, the more times they pierce umbrellas, the more rate we're going to pay, and the more expensive umbrellas.
Yeah, can you define verdict? Whatever you
Verdicts, verdicts, so like judgments. So someone slips and falls, instead of getting $100,000, you're getting $1 million or $2 million. Those verdicts are increasing, we're seeing it, and more lawsuits. All right, next slide. Any questions on that before we go? So with the insurance committee and Federation, we provided basically 4 estimates because we don't know what's going to be in April. So this is our best guess based on what we're seeing currently now, but the marketplace is changing every day. This is what you all are currently paying for all your insurance. This is an estimate. This is an estimate with the property rates going up 20%. Estimate with the property rates going up 25%. Estimates going up 35%. And then estimate with the property going up 40%. So everything else below here is a 20% rate increase, and it does not change. So you can look at the totals. Right now, you're paying roughly $4.8 million for all your insurance at the same values, okay? This estimate includes...
I'm going to correct you.
Yeah.
The first column of estimate is going up 20%.
Right.
The second column is going up 30%.
Okay.
Not 25. It's going up 30%. The third column is going up 35%. And the fourth column is going up 40%.
Thank
And
you.
that is the, when we say going up, you are speaking of the replacement cost per $100, correct?
No, that's the rate. When we're talking about 20%, this rate increase is 20% above the current rate increase, also including the values going up to $1 billion. So all these estimates right here include our values going to $1 billion versus 800 and something million dollars, okay? The rate increase here is 20%. The rate increase here is 30%.
Rate increase of what?
The property rate increase is 30%. Up here is the property rate increase is 35%, and here the property rate increase is 40%, okay? And you can see the overall increase in premium. Overall 41%, 51%, 55%, or 61%. Those are the overall estimates that we have been working on back and forth. The insurance committee recommended to the Federation board to go with this estimate in green.
Is not your rate for property insurance based upon a new property value after the appraisal of $1 billion.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is not the increase in rates for the replacement cost per $100?
No, the rate is independent of the values. The rate is 35, the estimated property rate is 20% here. The estimated property rate increase here
Define
is...
property rate for the residents in this
Sure,
community.
absolutely. So when you take this 5.9 million and you divide it by the $1 billion and then look at the rate, that's the rate, that's the pure, actually, that's how we come up with a rate increase. But the way we're coming up with this rate is you take this premium and divide it by the lower value, and that's the rate. So this rate increase here is a rate increase above that, not in taking into consideration the values, Jack. There's no value in the rate increase here. The rate is the rate. The values are just adding additional premium to that because you're increasing them from the 8.5 to $1 billion. So any questions on that?
It's not, what you're telling us is not what you have provided us. What you provided us is $1 billion. The property rate replacement cost is what is increasing.
So again, when you look at this property rate right here, this property rate here is 59 cents. You're currently paying 59 cents per $100 of property values here.
For the current year, we're paying 49 cents.
Excuse me, 49 cents.
I think you should have got your eyes checked on your hearing.
So the 49 cents here. This rate now is 64 cents. If you take 64 cents minus the 49 cents and divide that, that is a 20% rate increase. Nothing to do with the values.
That is correct. So it's taking it from 49 cents to 59 cents in column 1. Correct?
This one right, that's correct.
Okay, and in column 2, it's taking it from 49 cents per $100 of value to 64 cents.
That's correct.
So you're increasing not only the property value to $1 billion, you're also increasing the cost per 100 from 49 cents to the possibility of 59 cents, 64 cents. Column 3 is an increase to 66 cents at a 35% increase. And Exhibit 4, or the last one, is increasing at 40% from 49 cents per 100 to 69 cents per 100.
That is exactly right, yes.
Because it is not the way you were explaining it, so.
Okay,
Adam, Ms. Ray,
yeah.
if I could explain to everybody why this committee chose the column they chose. If the average values are going up 20% at least, and we believe that's true, and if the rates are going up based on what we've been told at that time, at least 35%, those two come out to 55%. Our objective was to try to get a figure that we believe will be as close to accurate in the spring as it possibly can be, and we don't know what that number will be, and I think it's fair to say, Adam, we were not going to know until sometime probably in the middle of March. So that was
At the earliest.
Yes.
At the earliest.
So
We'll
that-
probably, sorry, Jeff, we'll probably know from Heritage probably middle part of March, that's right.
So that was the rationale of the committee and why that particular column was chosen. We believe that is the most accurate figure. Is it correct? Probably not. Is it pretty close to accurate? We think so. Thank you. Go ahead, Adam.
Thanks, Ray.
So in looking at your chart, column 3, estimate 3, let's call it for the column 3, estimate 3. When I take the property insurance and I take all other insurance, I'm going from a current year of 4.823 million to 7.490 million in total premium.
Correct.
Which is a 55% estimated increase in the overall premium.
Correct.
Correct? The average, and that's exactly what it is, the average increase per unit per month would be $39.32 for the recommended budgeted dollars.
Correct.
And by average, it is based upon having 5,356 units that are property insured, because there are 4 associations that do not purchase property insurance through the association. So if you live in a home whose replacement value is $200,000, and this is based on an average cost, it'll be less than $39.32. If you live in a home that replacement cost is $500,000, and I'm speaking of a building, not an actual unit, then it's going to be more than $39.32. And until Steve gets done and First Service gets done running the calculations and provides you your budget package, you will not know the actual increase for each association. So the $39 is an average. It's either going to be higher or lower, depending upon the actual value of the building. And we really won't know truly what the values of buildings are, replacement costs, until the assessment is done in January. We can use this year's and increasing those by approximately 20%. Am I correct? And then, because property insurance is only on 5,356 units, we did what the property increase would be, and then we did all the rest of the insurance, because the rest of the insurance is taken by all 5,525 units of the Federation. And it comes to a $2.10 increase. The last item on here is the
Can you explain?
It's the other
Maybe I
insurance,
can.
the other stuff.
There are a number of increases that are showing up there, and I know it's hard, I can't even.
Okay, can I just say, until we let them ask the questions after we get done, because we'll open the mic.
Okay, I think you just confused things.
The last item on here is the finance charge. Quite obviously, the Federation, the community doesn't have $7.5 million sitting around to pay the premium. It is financed. Last year, our finance rate was 2%, am I correct? Approximately 2%. That finance rate this year, we're looking at to finance to pay the premium at about a 6.5% rate. That adds an additional $3.39 per unit per month for the financing to pay the premium on the insurance.
And one thing I do want to add, a large portion of the overall premium increase is due to the replacement costs increasing your bill by approximately 20%. So what it would cost to replace your building now if they were damaged has gone up approximately 20% than it was 3 years ago. The cost of concrete, labor, and the economic, social issues we're having right now, like all those things are increased at least 20%. So that's why a lot of the overall premium increase has gone up so much, is because it costs a lot more to replace your building than it was 3 years ago.
Now we'll entertain questions from the floor. What was the question, Vicki?
To avoid confusion, if you can't see that.
No, we can't.
Okay. What it says is that the property increase per unit per month will go up $39.32. All additional insurance areas, other than property, will go up $2.10 per month per unit. And the finance charges will go up $3.39 per unit per month on average. Some will pay less than this. Some will be paying more based on the value of your particular building. So if your building is worth a lot more than the average, you're going to be paying more. And if it's worth less than the average, you're going to be paying a little less. So if you want to figure out what you should put in, I would suggest you combine those three numbers, and that would be the number to use.
Or you wait 2 weeks and you'll get your budget packages, which will have it already calculated for you. And let me give you an example. If you live in Andover, where did Steve go?
No, it was like 210 to 330.
Come up here, Steve. You would. If I am correct, we were discussing this, in Andover, currently the replacement cost for a building in Andover is around $200,000. Is that correct?
That's per month.
Is that
That's per month.
what? It's about right, correct?
About $6. Between.
You need one, can I borrow my glasses? Oh, you got them with you.
Yeah. Settlers. It's not property value, it's replacement cost. That's what I'm trying to tell
So currently Andover's is basically the value of their building is between 180 and 200,000. I can tell you that due to roof damage in Oxford 2, that the building that had roof damage was valued at $478,000 of replacement costs. Quite obviously, the Andover rate is going to be less because their building value is $200,000, where you have Oxford 2 that is $478,000. The $39.32 is basically assuming that every building was valued for the same amount, and that is not true. It's basically taking the $6,600,000, dividing it by 5,356 units in the community, not taking into account the difference in value of the actual building.
And at the expense of confusing things, and I don't want to do that, in order to determine the replacement value, don't think of what you can sell your unit for. That is not what it's based on. And it's not based on what your taxes are based on. It's based on what it would cost to rebuild it. And that number is not going to be either of those two other numbers. Probably less than the sales number right now, and more, definitely more than the tax value, the tax number.
Go ahead, Alan.
Alan Hahn, Richmond Association. I just want to make sure that everybody understands and that the actual calculation of the finance charge is correct, and everybody understands how that's calculated. It's based on the actual premium that the association pays, because what needs to be borrowed is the cost of the premium. So if your premium is higher, you'll get divvied up more of that finance charge. If your premium is lower, you should pay a lot less than the finance charge. And I know that the costs vary, they do vary. They vary some, they vary a lot. I know they vary significantly. There are some HOAs in the association that had their own property insurance. Property insurance is the biggest portion. So some of the HOAs don't have any property insurance, so they should have a very small amount of the finance charge because their premiums are very low. So I just want to make sure that that's correct.
That's correct.
Keep it on, keep it on.
So in looking at this, you can assume on average, and if you figure your home value to replace it is average within the community, you can assume that your property value for that is going up at $39.32 per unit per month. Add to that the cost for all the other insurance is going up $2.10. And then for financing it, it's going up $3.39. So it's going approximately up $45 per unit per month.
And Jack, the reason that we're going through this estimate based on guessing educated guessing, is because the budgets have to be done, our coupon books have to be done, the membership has to approve, go through this whole process so that they know what to expect on April 1st when prices change for assessments.
We have to come up with a budget figure so Steve can take the approximate value of the buildings and figure out what each individual association's budget package will contain at a per unit per month rate.
And if we estimate too low, then the associations will still be responsible to pay the difference, and they would have to determine if they wanted to do a special assessment to cover that.
Yes.
Okay.
And if we estimate too high, it sits in their account.
Okay. Thank you.
That's why we have looked at various different percentages in the cost per hundred of replacement. If you can't see the screen, the difference between a 30% increase in the cost per $100 versus a 35, the cost is just over $3 per unit per month. If you go up to a 40% increase in the cost per unit per month, cost per $100, it basically goes up about $4 and some odd cents. So the insurance committee of putting this together, there was not a 35% increase in the cost per unit, in the cost per $100 of replacement value. They asked for the 35% to be added. And when the insurance committee made the recommendation to the board, we said, how much is it really in difference between 30% and 35%? When it comes to $3, we were being conservative and utilizing an estimate that we would hope would not put any association in a deficit position. It is doing the best guesstimate we can. I will tell you that over the last 3 years, the budget estimates that USI have done have been almost spot on. I think last year the difference was like $38,000 in total budget on a $4.8 million projection. It was off less than $50,000. We are hoping this year that your calculations are as good as they were for the last couple of years. You don't know because you don't know what the economy is going to do.
I'm hoping they're high. I'm hoping they're high by $1 million, but yes, but realistically, hopefully we're around that.
Yeah, the difference between a 20% increase and a 35% increase on property, which quite obviously is the biggest impact. And we could leave that on the screen if people at the end of the meeting want to come up and look at it. The difference between a 20% increase and a 35% increase for property is $700,000. So you're playing here is a dartboard, let's throw a dart, assuming I do know that USI has had conversations with the president of Heritage on the likelihood that they will be doing insurance for us and insuring our property, and they said yes, it is likely that they will. They don't know what all their claims are going to be because they have people have a number of years to file a claim. So we don't know from that perspective. Yeah.
Hi, Jack. Roger Walker, Open Green President. Question around the $1 billion. There was some concern early on that the amount of carriers that would be able to participate at that level was very diminished. Was there thoughts about splitting out the community so that you had a lower value for each? In other words, 500,000 each, etc., or 500 million, excuse me. Was there thought about that? Because I know there had been some discussion about carve-outs at some point. And also, depending on what Heritage does, who might be the other carriers, or is the fallback Citizens, which leads us into a whole different realm?
Okay, first,
I want you to be totally honest with him in your answer.
I'm always honest. Jack gets mad at me because sometimes I'm too honest and black and white, but two things. One is every property, every association has its own separate property policy. It's negotiated on a bulk contract, but everybody has its own separate policies. There are already individual policies. Second question is, when we go out to bid on your insurance, the past 2 years, Heritage has been the only admitted company in the state of Florida willing to offer a quote. And that's when the market wasn't as bad as it is now. The other options were a surplus lines program or Citizens. Okay, Citizens now, they don't have to take everybody. In order to go to Citizens, every building has to have a roof form completed. That roof has to be within, the roof cannot be within 5 years of its end of its life expectancy, or you don't qualify for Citizens. So my guess is, even if we had to go to Citizens, a lot of these communities would even qualify for Citizens because of the age of the roofs. But my point is, if Heritage does not offer a renewal, we are in big trouble.
That's why we asked for the likelihood
Yes,
from Randy of
Jack,
where he's coming.
We did pose a question to Randy Jones, and we asked him what the likelihood of them to offer renewal, and he says extremely likely.
We have been, and understand, there is no company that's going to give us a $1 billion policy and underwrite it on their own. They go out to secondary markets and split up their liability amongst other insurance companies. So I don't know how much of the $1 billion Heritage will actually hold in their portfolio, but they will take it out to the secondary market, assuming they take, 100 million, 200, 500. They're going to take it out, and different companies carry the burden of the insurance in case the community needs it. And it's all in their arrangements, and their pricings are all different.
And keep in mind, there's a shortage of reinsurance even prior to Hurricane Ian, so they're going to be taking a lot more risk going forward because they can't buy enough reinsurance. So they're probably going to have to shed some less profitable business in certain areas, but the lack of reinsurance is also driving this marketplace up significantly because that's their number one cost. It's not payroll, it's not commissions, it is reinsurance. They have to buy enough reinsurance to protect all their buildings they're purchasing, insuring throughout the country and in Florida specifically.
Adam, if I could ask you a real quick question before yours. Our rate you can tell us what the rate is based on the recommendation, and from your experience, what is the approximate average rate for condominiums similar to ours in Florida?
Property rate right now for buildings similar to yours at renewal is over $1.
And what are we going to be paying if we have that?
If we, 66 cents.
Thank you.
Rich Resnick, Treasurer, Manchester, for just something I'd like the board to consider. It's news to me, and maybe to some of the other folks here, that we borrow to pay premiums, and so we're basically paying off that borrowing in arrears. And that makes perfect sense when money's cheap, when money's been cheap since the financial crisis. Money's not cheap anymore. And as we heard in one of the reports earlier, we're getting some good returns on CDs. I just bought some treasury bonds, U.S. government bonds for my association at about a 4.5% yield to maturity. So there's good opportunities if you have the cash on hand to invest. So on some kind of multi-year basis, I think it makes sense and will save money in the long run if we gradually transition from paying in arrears to paying in advance, so that in 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, we have the money to pay 90% of the premium. And in the meantime, that premium's earning interest. And yes, that raises costs in the short term, but in the long term, it would save us a ton of money right now, as long as money stays more expensive. And personally, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Richard, the one problem with that is we gave you the increase. Your total association per unit per month rate is probably going to be like $125 per unit per month. That's including the $40 increase. What you're saying to the residents of Kings Point is it is more economical for us to almost double the homeowners' rates to build up a $6 or $7 million capability for paying a premium, when it will cost us last year, just to let you know how well the Fed Board has done to us. The interest rate last year cost us approximately $20,000 and $53,000. This year, in this projection, it's projected to cost us $242,000. You'd be better off borrowing or putting in the money to pay for the interest rate than you would try to figure out how this community is going to raise $7 million.
You can't do it in 1 year. I mean, that's clear. It has to be some kind of a multi-year change. But the economics in the long run are very clear. We cost ourselves more money by borrowing than we would cost ourselves in the long run by building it up. And if the answer is that's the way it has to be, then so be it. But there is an opportunity over time to flip this around and to start benefiting in the long run. And we have to.
I will tell you, if I was looking from a board member, if I was looking to raise money for something, I would be looking for raising money to pay off a $32 million balance on our loan come 2032 versus $242,000 in interest on borrowing for a $7 million property.
All of the above, Jack, all of the above.
Any other questions regarding your property insurance? I know it is not, you thought I was kidding when I said that Adam and Brian brought donuts to sweeten us up. It is not a pretty picture. We've been trying to tell you that this was going to be a very bad year for insurance, and the figures don't lie. And we have done all kinds of research of what we are seeing in the cost per $100 going up. Ray asked very, very simply what are other condominiums paying. They're paying $1. At the 35 cents, at the 35% increase, we're paying 66 cents. We pay a very small cost per 100 for replacement.
I just have one
Could you
clarification.
identify yourself, please?
I'm sorry. Patty Delaney, treasurer from Richmond. One question regarding the property coverage amount. If we could move that down, I think it was it 6 million?
It was $6,600,000.
Okay. And we've been talking in terms of what that is based on individual residential. And estimates of replacement value, but if I'm correct, that property coverage also includes the common area buildings, right?
It only includes your units.
Just the
buildings.
units. Okay, okay. All right.
And they don't insure grounds. They don't
Okay,
insure
but-
land.
So where do we see the insurance coverage for
This building.
the land trust buildings?
Those are handled through Vesta, through their insurance policy, which they projected their budget would increase approximately.
Okay, so we see that in the Vesta
It's in the
line
Vesta
item.
line items.
Okay, okay, very good. That's all, thank you.
They assumed a 25% increase in their insurance costs. Their appraisal, just if you want to know in comparing, Patty, because you asked the question, and I have the figure here. I believe that their assessment for replacement costs is $37 million. So in talking of the land trust building the insurance on $37 million versus $1 billion, it's a big difference. In fact, the insurance appraisal just came in. In fact, Ginger handed it to me this morning to review. When you do a property appraisal for replacement costs, this is for the land trust. You know how many buildings and things the land trust has? If the land trust appraisal is this thick, you can imagine for our community how thick Drew Isaac will be. It'll probably be 3 or 4 inches thick. It is volumes because they do every building by square footage, the square footage of the home, the building square footage of the roof. They do all of that when they come up with the value of the individual building.
And Jack, one other point, oh, go ahead.
Doris Wente, President Highgate D's. You said right now we're dealing with $125 per unit?
No, I said your rate would go up to approximately $125 per unit.
If
Right
that
now,
was, okay.
right now it's about $74. If I'm correct, that's what we were looking at as an average of $74 per unit.
For all of the increases for next year.
So it'd probably go up, for insurance, it would go up probably from 75 to 75, 80 to 115. And it can go higher depending upon the buildings. We really can't and understand, without First Service doing your budget, which they have been working on, and waiting for this calculation to do it, we can't tell you what that specific line item on your budget will go up.
But $45 per unit is what we're talking about.
On average,
Right. Just for the
just for the insurance. Yes.
Okay.
Just also, one other thing, if you look at the property rate that the land trust is paying compared to what our increase, so we're projecting potentially your property rate to be 66 cents. That rate is still, I think, less than the land trust was paying for their property coverage last year. And these buildings are sprinklered, obviously better built, newer roofs than what you're all dealing with, and we have much smaller buildings, so the deductibles are much lower too. So that kind of shows you what kind of bulk purchasing power they have. I know, I just wanted to mention that. All right.
Sorry? Is it great? So they got the per unit. Any other questions, concerns? This is the largest fear that the Federation had, is what would be the increase to insurance, because it is such a volatile market. Someday Tallahassee will try and rein in insurance in the state of Florida, and I hope they do, because You have this increase upon your HO6 policy increase. If you read Nextdoor, you read Facebook, you see individual unit owners' pricing going up. If you have a $40 a month increase times 12 months, it's like $400, $600. If you've been looking at Nextdoor, individual homes across the street, their prices are going up a couple $1,000s for their property insurance. So buying it in bulk is very beneficial, although each association has its own policy.
Jack, could you explain to the group, because I know some people have asked me about it, who finances our finance of the insurance? And is there any way to look at a different way of doing that to try to get a lower rate?
Yeah, so you can finance the insurance any way you want to. We do have the ability to bid out your financing to different finance companies, and we bring you all the lowest rate from the finance company. But if you don't want to use that finance company, you can use a bank or anything else you want. So it doesn't matter to us how you pay for it. It just has to be paid in full or financed. But traditionally, the rates you get from a premium finance company are lower than you can get from a bank, traditionally. But again, it doesn't matter to us.
You sent out the 6.6 million, if I'm correct, or the 7.4, 7.5 million, and asked basically what interest rates you were expected to see, and that's where you came up with the 6.5, am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Then from the board, I will accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Ray. All in favor, say aye. The meeting is adjourned.